Well, hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming to celebrate Domestic Violence Court's 20-year anniversary. Woo! We appreciate you taking the time to come out and celebrate with us today. I consider the court the little engine that could. A lot of great things happening in Domestic Violence Court, and we thought it was important just to take a moment to acknowledge the great work that's been done here over 20 years. And so welcome, welcome, welcome. And we have a very small little program, but the main purpose of us gathered today is to connect some old faces and some old friends and rum. Yeah. And get a chance for us to get together on a positive note. So that was the intent, and so we thank you all for being a part. We're going to do some thank yous in a little bit, but what we're going to do now, first, a few housekeeping things. We have the DV Court Hall of Fame board right here. We ask if you worked in DV Court at any time, in any capacity, get your name on there, and if you happen to know when, at least the year, put it on there, because that's something I wish I had done over the years, is kept track of all the names, and so we'll do our best to gather some of those now. And then we have a little trivia game that we're going to play if the time allows it. But most important, be sure if you're in DV Court at any time to sign the little Hall of Fame board there, and so we can keep track of some of the folks that have come through these wonderful doors. I don't know who was here when we were in 4A, but we kind of snuck up here and was like, do they know we're in here? So that was the reason for picking this courtroom to try to celebrate. And so thank you again for coming, and we're going to have a few speakers come and share some words with you and then go from there. It's your turn.
And I want to thank Sonetta for all of the work she's done, the planning she's done. I can't say enough about what you've done to get this together. So she deserves most of the credit. Thank you. Okay, I'm Judge Karina Harn. I'm the current domestic violence court judge, and I'm really excited to be here. But when I thought about, or when I was asked to speak at this celebration of the 20th anniversary of domestic violence court, it struck me again how often King County is ahead of the curve and how proud I am to be working for King County. I can't tell you how much, because I mean, most courts are now thinking about domestic violence court, and we've had one for 20 years. 20 years ago, King County recognized the need in our community to think outside the box and to provide additional resources, expertise, and a more focused and effective and efficient process for domestic violence cases. This court and the dedicated prosecutors, public defenders, victims advocates, probation officers, and law enforcement are making a difference in the lives of victims, perpetrators, and their families. Because of DV Court and the resources that are associated with it, we can more carefully craft protection orders, taking into consideration the specific facts of each case. We can tailor sentences and pretrial conditions and pretrial agreements to the specific cultural, economic, and other needs of each defendant. And when warranted, the court can hold perpetrators accountable and deliver swift and appropriate consequences, which I also think is important. Preventing domestic violence is not easy, and stakeholders have continuously looked for more effective ways to protect and support victims and to educate those who have committed domestic violence so they can develop the necessary skills and knowledge to stop their harmful behavior. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is in the area of domestic violence to have those necessary resources for a just, equitable, and efficient resolution of each case. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to this court over the years. I am sure that all of us and those that come after us will continue to work together toward this important mission. I want to thank and congratulate everyone who has been a part of Domestic Violence Court. And I am proud to be here, and I really thank everyone who's worked on it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Martin. I'm the Domestic Violence Unit Chair and have been for a long time. And thank you to Sonetta for putting this together. Sonetta was the one who remembered, right, that it's been 20 years, invited everybody, remembered all the old names, and is the original advocate in domestic violence court. Her colleague, Doris O'Neill, is here as well, the other original advocate in domestic violence court, the original judge. from Domestic Violence Court. Judge Phillipson is here. It's great to see Judge Phillipson. I know is coming kind of out of retirement for a day to join us. One day, that's what we get, a couple of hours. Chuck Surgis, where's Chuck? Where's Chuck? The very first DPA, along with Jim Farrell, who was in Domestic Violence Court, and thanks, Chuck, for being here. And so many alumni from the court are here. And our current team, who is in the front row, Jill, Charu, Bella, Lucy. Is Tricia here? I'm not sure if Tricia is here. She's out. And Sinetta, of course, on our current team. It did. I mean, Domestic Violence Court began back in 1999 and 2000, and it was an idea that came from the entire community, right? This is there were leaders in my office at the time, Barb Fleming, Sherry Yates, who's here, Lynn Moberly, who is now still a prosecutor in King County, who came together with the court and with so many other people to have this big investment in domestic violence response. And I think no matter who the parties were involved in this court, the fact that we had a court that was dedicated to providing specialized, intensive response to domestic violence was a huge deal at the time. And there were a lot of cases back then. There were 3 domestic violence courts, well over 1,000 cases were flowing through the court. And so many good things happened as a result of it. I was one of the deputies who came in after Chuck, along with Tim Leary and so many other people who were involved in the court. It was an enormous kind of learning experience for me. You learn so much being a part of domestic violence court because it's not easy work to do. The purpose of the court, reading from the district court press release from 2000, the innovative program is expected to become a model for the effective and coordinated response to domestic violence cases. It was a groundbreaking idea then, and it's a groundbreaking idea now. There are many of these courts across the country. This was one of the first one, and it did it exceptionally well and kind of shown a light for people of how you can respond to domestic violence cases in a professional, thoughtful, and meaningful way. And the court has changed over time, and those changes have reflected what's going on in the county. It's interesting, the court is consolidated. Judge Harn oversaw the consolidation from 3 courts to 2 courts and now just to 1 court. And there used to be, of course, over 1,000 cases, and now we just have a few hundred. There's a lot of reasons for that. There's less unincorporated area of King County. A lot of the crimes that were originally a part of domestic violence court were misdemeanors, and now those are felonies. They've been reclassified, so things have changed. The homicide rate is different as well. It used to be 15 to 20 cases a year in the late 90s, sometimes even more than that. And today there were just 7 last year. So domestic violence court has been a huge part of a community's response to domestic violence, and there's just a lot to be proud for and a lot I'm grateful for this court and what it's meant for domestic violence. And there's so many people who have been a part of it. Sinetta, Wendy Ross, who's here, Tracy Orcutt, Mary Vaughn. I feel like I could name everybody in the room. Tomas Gann is here, and Ram, and other people. Judge Batham, who I was hoping who was going to be here today, but he's not. Larry Jefferson, who was one of the original public defenders in domestic violence court as a public defender down in Thurston County. It made it a really special place, and some may not know, but there used to be a nickname for domestic violence court. People called it Shangri-La, that it was this paradise that people would go to. The office used to be down the street, and people would come to this court, and I think it always spoke to the community of people who were a part of this, the people who were a part of domestic violence court. And it's kind of always been a family in its own way. The court is a huge leader in doing that. Our partners in public defense, our adversaries, but also our colleagues in doing this work. And we're grateful for all the efforts that they've done over the years. So I'm thankful that everybody showed up today. I hope you got something to eat. The court's been a success, and I'm hoping for another 20 years.
All right.
Thank you. You do your game?
Yeah. But before it gets going too long, I just want to make sure that I get to this point in case, because I know, not sure how much time the clerks have, but I do want to take the time to acknowledge them and to thank them for their amazing work in keeping the court running and going and keeping us all in line. We're filing the wrong forms or whatever we're doing, they're on top of it. And so they are the ones that keep the court moving. And so to all the clerks that have been through through DV Court. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wave so they know who I'm talking about. Who am I talking about? Don't be shy. Clerks, clerks. There we go. And I bug them in and out of court, especially those two right there, yes. So thank you for your hard work, and to our current probation officer, I want to acknowledge Rachel as well and say thank you for your amazing work as well. Thank you. I'm going to play the game, but I think I'm going to have Your Honor come, the very first judge of DV Court. The Honorable Darrell Phillipson is going to come, also the maker of the brownies. My special request, when he...
Sonetta was my conscience. Back in the early days and when we started this, I didn't know Sonetta until DV Court. There was a ton of stuff that went into getting it up and running. The only two programs that were even being discussed doing it at the time was King County and Maricopa County, which are always, Maricopa's always kind of ahead of the curve. But Maricopa was having all sorts of political issues about a domestic violence court. It's a very conservative place. And so we happened to be the first one, to my knowledge, to get our feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Nobody else beat us. And that's not to say we were rushing. But again, everybody's getting acknowledged, and that's important. But there were people that put hours and hours, even the executive committee, because we were trying to come up with a philosophy. And once we had a philosophy, then we could develop a strategy and work our way through it. But so while the clerks are doing all the things, Denise Michaels was back there, didn't acknowledge that she was a court clerk, but
Yeah.
she
She was.
was, yeah, and she ultimately decided she was my alter ego wife or something, and would dress me properly and make sure that I made it to places. And God, I love that lady. I don't see her very often, but anyway, I don't want her to go unrecognized. Doris and Sonetta were just super, and we did develop a team. The team changed. Were lots of, call them substitutes if you want, but the team changed. But the philosophy remained the same. The commitment remained the same. And it extended right down just to the security guys that were in the courtroom all the time. It was really important. And we got the best. I got, from the prosecutor's office, the best. It was always there. Some of the top public defenders that have ever worked in this court, we got those. It just worked all the way. But Sonetta, when she contacted me about this, and several times after that we've had little discussions, and she's always said, well, she wants me to speak a few words. And she emphasizes few.
No, I
So
did not.
I'm going to try to limit it to a few, okay?
Help yourself, Your Honor.
But basically, when you start a new court, it's everything from getting a security officer full-time, which nobody else had, getting the police officers to respond quickly if we had a problem in the courtroom. We had huge calendars initially, and over time that reduced, but we worked hard and there was much to do. I'm proud of having started at the DV Court. I'm proud of the work that we did. I am grateful to the people who assisted me. I miss DV Court. I don't miss being a judge full time by any stretch, and I sure don't miss the drive to Redmond or Shoreline, which I occasionally ended up doing. But I really miss DV Court, the people that were in it. They were, I don't know what there aren't enough superlatives to describe the people I got to work with. So Sonetta was the boss. Doris was the enforcer.
Leanna was the boss.
Leanna certainly made her presence known. I'd agree with that one. But we had a good time. We also worked hard. I think we've made a difference. I truly do. I think it isn't often people in a criminal court can say they've seen a reduction in caseload. But we have that benefit, and we can say that. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening to my jabbering, and I'll sit down and get out of the way.
And I just want to say really quick to Judge Phillipson, you really did set the tone for DV Court. And the way you pulled everybody together, our meetings around the brownies and all that fun stuff, was an amazing foundation. And we've continued to try to build on that. And so I just want to thank you for the many, many years ago, that foundation being laid, and it has allowed us to do the things that we do today. So I want to thank you personally for that.
Well, real briefly, before we turn it back over to Sonetta, there's a couple of people who have come in. My friend Shia Calvo, who is one of the original supervisors in DV Court, Angie Cake, who is, of course, is a past supervisor of DV Court, but especially Barb Fleming, who came in. Barb was the unit chair of DV when DV began. She was the visionary who brought this big response, and DV Court was a big part of that, but it was also the felony DV unit. It was all this work that happened with Sherry and the protection order program. It was groundbreaking work, and it's still a model nationally for what offices look to as to how we're structured. We're set up the same way. I have a sketch that Barb had made of what it would all look like. And it's cool that it's still maintained and existed, and I'm thankful that Barb is here today because she's the visionary who brought it about, so I wanted to say that.
Yeah. Barb, would you have a few words?
Sure.
Come on. And while she's coming, I just would like to thank the person who is responsible for me being here today, and that would be Miss Sherry Yates, who gave me my very first job. I was elated when she said she could come, and so thank you, Sherry. And for those that appreciate me being here, she's responsible. Those who don't, she's responsible.
Sherry! Didn't see you there. I just pulled this out of my files that I still have from February of 2000, and it was District Court Domestic Violence Court Proposal, Statement of Purpose, and it was fun to look back at it, fun to see where it is today. And it did feel like we were, Sherry, myself, other people were cobbling together something new, and there was a lot of resistance to it. There was a lot of, we can't do that. And we worked really hard and made it happen. And it's just really amazing that it's been 20 years. Amazing because that makes me old, but also amazing that it's been so successful. So I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to see what a success DV Court has been.
You know, maybe in 20 years we won't need a DV court. We'll just have too few cases, right? Because prevention's worked and other things have happened. And I'm grateful for everybody and their commitment. Grateful for you, Judge Phillipson and Judge Harn, for hosting us. And please eat the food.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.